Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now. First time I played Tetris, I was addicted. I mean, I played that thing for 7 hours straight, closed my eyes, like I was still playing it with my eyes closed. I could still see the shapes falling. I was Tetrisized. In fact, I went as far as to create a drawing game on graph paper with a friend. We would draw blocks and shapes and pass random pieces back and forth between each other and try to accommodate them in the blocks that were presented. I mean, it was just fun. I mean, I love Tetris. I've loved it all the way through adulthood. My favorite game of all time. So imagine my surprise when I received this email from a community member from live.pirillo.com and YouTube, Colin, who has given me his top 5 list, the top 5 Tetris pieces. Now, I've opened it up. I said, send me your top 5 list. It's related to anything, tech or not tech. And I said, send it to me if you've got something related to games. And indeed, we now have the top 5 Tetris pieces list. I have my favorite Tetris piece. What about you? I'll get to my favorite at the end. Colin says, number 5 is the Z piece. He writes, I have found this extremely useless. If you get it on the first move, then you have to struggle to get an L-shaped piece under the top or some other strategy to prevent any possible gaps. It isn't a hard thing to do, but it can easily be messed up. The mere fact that something is difficult to use as the Z shape also comes in 2 ways. It only makes the process even more difficult. Now you have to worry about having the right kind of Z, and it just becomes a mess. I've also noticed that there always seems to be a block sticking out the wrong way. The Z piece, in my opinion, is just too much of a hassle. However, this list isn't meant to bash on the pieces, but it is meant to help people improve their scores, so here are some of the tips in using the Z shape. The Z-shaped piece can be used in a T-shaped gap, so that when you get a T, rather than sliding it in, you won't have to worry about making a gap with the annoying Z. Unless you have an army of square and line pieces coming up, it is always a good idea to have a bumpy terrain so that you can accommodate things in the right spots. Sorry to hurt the feelings of any Z-shape fans out there. That was my addition, not Colin's. Number 4, the square shape, for the most part, is useless. I don't mean to say that it cannot be used at all, but simply that I, and many others who agree with me, could live without it. I can't believe that Colin has had conversations about Tetris pieces. There really isn't much to say about the square piece. The complexity is the downfall of the Z, but I would say that the simplicity of the square is its downfall. I have to say that it isn't really a hard piece to use, and I'm sure everyone who plays Tetris knows when it can and can't be productively employed. It's just, to me, the odds that you'll get them in place where you have a 2 gap or a 2x2 gap is unlikely. And there are many other ways to fill up the space, but not with the Z, which only illustrates my first point further. A tip for dealing with the square shape is to, before you get it, build towers of blocks with 2 space gaps between them. This doesn't always work, but it would prevent potential gaps. Number 3, the L-shaped piece. It's a very powerful piece. I have to admit, Colin writes, it has saved my butt more times than I can count. It isn't the third space for any particular reason, besides the fact that I prefer the next 2 pieces over this one. This is because of the 2 main reasons. 1, there are 2 kinds of them, much like the Z. And if you don't know what I mean, allow me to explain. You have an L or even a Z shape. You can have it in 4 different positions. Let's say with the L. You can have it base down, like the letter L is written, or you can have it to the base to the left, which is like a lowercase r with the top extended and without the curves. You can have it with the base up, which is an upside down L, which some people might say looks like the number 7. And finally, you can have it base right, like this lying on its long side, with a base perpendicular to the floor. Have you got a mental image? You know you can rotate the L-shaped pieces in a variety of fashions. Well, at least up to 8 ways. What if the gap is backwards and the line is on the other side? This is why they make 2 different kinds of L and Z shapes. This is why it's more difficult to use. You need to have the right kind for the right gap. The second reason why I dislike the L shape is because when you have a 1x1 boxes from other shapes sticking out, you can't lay it on its side without making 1 or more gaps. It isn't big, but it is really what separates it from the other quote-unquote power pieces. How can someone use the L shape, you must wonder? Well, the L shape has a big advantage over the other pieces because of its length. The L and the line pieces are the only pieces that can fit gaplessly in a deep hole. Even if the space is more than 2 pieces deep, the L shape will do the trick when a line piece is unavailable. It may be a small detail, yes, we're on our 3rd page for Colin's tip, but very helpful when you are pressed for time and space. Another tip, although it is well known, is to lay the L shape long side down when it is on a flat surface or bottom down in a 2x2 gap. or a 2 gap, to allow a T line or even a backwards Z shape to fill the space. Number 2, the famous line piece. You know, the vertical, the boom, 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 boom. It is well known throughout the globe as being the best, greatest, or even holiest piece of them all, but it seems to be a bit overrated to me. I do love the line piece, but there are still flaws that cannot be overlooked. I know that you can knock out 4 lines at one time with a legendary line piece. Yeah, because that's the only way to get a Tetris, dude. But, as legend states, thou shalt not get thy line piece without thou needeth. Well, however, when beeth the worst time for it to come. I think what he's saying is that you never get it at the right time. Fact is, you never get it when you need it. Well, see, there you go. Maybe it's just bad luck or a joke by the programmers when they are designing the game, but no one seems to ever get the line when they need it. The fact only amplifies its flaws. When you get the line piece, when you don't need it, the line piece seems to generate unneeded and definitely unliked gaps. For the most part, the line piece is great, though, and it's the easiest piece to use. While the square's flaw is its simplicity, the line piece's greatest strength is its simplicity, and not its flaw. The line piece is so simple, I don't really think I have to go into much detail about it. It speaks for itself. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be reading an email on the top 5 Tetris pieces, but I'm doing it anyway. Number 5, the T shape is my personal favorite shape of the 5. Most people right now are thinking, hey, how is the T shape better than the line? Well, people my whole life have told me, explained blah, 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 blah. That he writes that in, blah, 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 right there. Honestly, the T shape is the ultimate shape, and it doesn't get as much credit as it deserves. So what if it can't fit in a 4-space gap? Those are reserved for the line piece. The line piece is a much more of a finisher piece to knock out multiple lines at one time, while the T shape is more of a strategic building shape. It can fit into almost anything, with the exception of long gaps and 2x2s, but if you play it right, you can easily recover, if not automatically recover, from using the T-shape in those situations. Not only is the T-shape the most reliable, but it's also a page 4, the most common shape. It could come multiple times in a matter of seconds. The T-shape is also a one-way shape, so you don't have to worry about having the wrong kind of T-shape because there is only one. Honestly, if you think about the T-shape isn't as good as the one line or even any other shape, think about how useful the T-shape is next time you play Tetris. It's an easy pace to use, and I shouldn't take more than, shouldn't take more than a level or 2 to master and wield its power to the fullest. There's Colin on his top 5 Tetris pieces. My favorite Tetris piece is, of course, the line, the boom, 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 because that's the only way you can get a Tetris. I love Tetris so much that I've now spent a few minutes of my life sharing with you the top 5 Tetris pieces. Now, if you have a top 5 list, whether it's related to gaming, hardware, software, internet, maybe it's not tech-related at all, email it to me. Chris@Pirillo.com. I see all the emails I receive. May not be able to respond to them, and if I do respond to them with a smiley face or a one-word response, that's a lengthy response, because I've got to spend most of my waking hours playing Tetris. Thank you very much. And, if you want to, leave a comment or follow up or embed this video on your Tetris-based website or blog, go ahead. Let me know what you think. Just drop me a line or leave a comment. And you're also welcome to swing by our chat room, where we're typically talking tech 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's at one place and one place alone. As Luke the Tech Guy says, we're at live.pirillo.com. See you later.